Salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing an author guide to See Nascosta. I feel like with fall coming up, everyone is pulling out their paranormal and monster romances, and listen, this is the author that you need to read from. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. I'm so excited to be filming today. I haven't done an author guide or an author binge video in so freaking long, but I felt like this was the perfect time. I recently saw this author at a book signing, and she was so sweet and wonderful to see in person. Familiar with her books, she writes a lot of paranormal and monster romances. I believe she actually started on Tumblr, where she would do like short stories, and that expanded into all of her books. She also has a Patreon where she writes again a bunch of short stories and is really good at interacting with her readers. She's one of my favorite Patreons to follow. Her books are so fun and unique and very sexy, and the covers of her books are stunning, which you will see in a second. I've read her entire backlist, and she's one of those few authors that I've given pretty much her entire backlist 5 stars. There's not a single book by her that I have not enjoyed, so I'm going to be going into each individual book and giving you the premise, and then towards the end I will talk about some of the books that she is going to be releasing soon or that she's writing right now. Let's go ahead and start with her Cambrick Creek series. Now, her Cambrick Creek series follows a town that is multi-specied, if you will. Werewolves, orcs, mothmen, but you also have humans. Cambrick Creek is a small town, and each book follows different romances. I think it's fun if you read them in order because you do see side characters throughout the entire series, but they can also be read as standalones. Go ahead and start with probably her most popular release, and that is Morning Glory Milking Farm. When this came out, the girlies lost their mind because the premise is just absolutely crazy, but it ended up being a very romantic book. This book follows Violet, who is a struggling millennial, okay? She is drowning in student debt. She's living in a very expensive part of town, and she needs to find a way to make money. So she ends up working for this milking farm. And what this farm is, it's a pharmaceutical company that milks minotaurs' semen. Yeah. And basically like creates pills for humans to... you guys know where I'm going with this. The little blue pills, you know. She starts off as one of his clients, but week by week they end up connecting and they develop a romance. The premise sounds a little bit crazy, and although it is steamy, it is a little bit of a slow burn romance. Our hero absolutely adores her, spoils her, is a total gentleman, and when they are finally together, it's hot as fuck. Okay, it's so... I love this one. Okay, so to follow that one, you have a blue ribbon romance, which is Morning Glory Milking Farm, but it's told in the hero's perspective. So same storyline, just a different POV. I had to pick, I almost would pick this one because I just love reading our hero's perspective because he is this grumpy cinnamon roll hero. The entire book is him admiring her from afar, then working up the courage to ask her out, and then when he does ask her out, he like absolutely worships the ground that she walks on. He treats her so sweet, and their chemistry is so amazing. So the covers of these books, absolutely unmatched, so freaking gorgeous. The design is stunning. In case it was not clear, both of those books I gave 5 stars. Okay, the second book in the Cambrick Creek series is Sweet Berries, and this is a romance between a human and a mothman. Lives in Cambrick Creek. She loves her job, she loves the town that she's living in. Love life is kind of lacking. So she's at her house, doing a little love on herself, a little self-pleasure moment, and the window is wide open, and she has a feeling that someone is watching her. So kind of like a voyeurism moment. I know that can sound a little creepy, but it's not. Our heroine is actually excited by the fact, and it almost enhances the moment, and that is how our characters meet each other at first. It's like this voyeurism moment, and they're like teasing each other, and when they do eventually meet, she discovers that he is a mothman, and it follows their romance. And it's very steamy, and we have a hero who literally worships our heroine, very similar to the first book. Nascosta knows how to write a hero. Favorite thing about her books is the heroes because they're all so swoon-worthy but very different, and I really liked this one. It was a good addition to the series, and for a really long time this one was my favorite in the series. And we got Moon-Blooded Breeding Clinic, which is the third book in the Cambrick Creek series. To go into the third book of the Cambrick Creek series, I will say that you do get a lot of steam and fun and spice and like monster romance vibes. Also a lot of good commentary in these books. Our characters are dealing with real life things like divorce and anxiety and depression, and I feel like the author does such an amazing job at writing that in almost a cathartic way. Yes, it is spicy, it is steamy, but you're seeing these characters thrive and get their happily ever after, and there's something very inspiring about that. And this is a romance between a werewolf and a human. I think if I had to pick a favorite, it's either this one or the next one I'm going to talk about. Heroine, she is going through a really messy, heartbreaking divorce. This does have trigger warnings for infertility. Heroine spent years and years of her marriage trying to get pregnant and she couldn't. That is eventually what led her husband to divorce her. She's kind of recovering from that, but then she discovers a clinic, a new clinic that is supposed to help women get pregnant, and it's a little crazy. Clinic is very different in the fact that they use werewolves. You sleep with a werewolf and use their knot and their semen to get pregnant. Okay, the fertility rates for werewolves and human women is higher. So she ends up going on this very experimental trial, and that is where she meets our hero. Lowell is back home. He grew up in Cambrick Creek, and he's part of a very influential family. He's a photographer, and all of his other brothers are like lawyers and firefighters, and he feels a little out of place, and he's trying to like settle down some roots. So he ends up working for the clinic to get some money. They pair together, and they have like an instant connection. This does have an age gap with an older heroine, younger man. Our hero is a cinnamon roll. He's also a little bit submissive. Our heroine's dominant, which is one of my favorite tropes ever. I adored this book. Our hero is literally the definition of a cinnamon roll. Golden retriever energy. And the cover, you simply cannot beat it. So the next one is part of her After Dark Verse series, but it is connected to Moon-Blooded Breeding Clinic because the heroes in these books are brothers. These are hands down my two favorite books that she's ever written. If I had to pick one, it would probably be this one, Run Rabbit Run. Those are characters Grayson and Vanessa, who are both cutthroat lawyers, like cutthroat badass lawyers. They both work for the same law firm, but Grayson is technically partner and like her boss too, so it's a little bit of a forbidden office romance. When she starts working for the firm, they have an instant connection, but they're both kind of assholes. They're both assholes. This is a grumpy pairing, okay? They like to make each other jealous. They like to tease each other. They like to play all sorts of games, but they're also absolutely perfect for each other. Okay, this is a dark romance. There's trigger warnings for abortion and cheating. Like I said, our characters, messy, but I fucking loved it. And it also has a primal kink, which is one of my favorite things in a romance. So yeah, highly adore this one. Sorry, the bookmark is like falling out. Such a good one and such a quick read. It's a very short novella. Another short novella in that Cambrick Creek series, and she calls this her Cambrick Creek bite-sized reads because it's even shorter than her other books, is the Mignon Bride. This is a romance between two minotaurs who are both archaeologists, and they are now engaged and they're just about to get married. They move into Cambrick Creek because there is this museum that is celebrating minotaur history. The hero is the one who is spearheading the museum, so you get to see a bunch of flashbacks of like old minotaur history, but also their romance. And this one is really short, sweet, and steamy. I loved it. Okay, sorry, my battery died. But next we're going to talk about her Girls Weekend series, which I think is the first series that I read by her. Right now this series has 2 books in it, but you do have to read them in order, and there is a cliffhanger on each book. The third book is coming out. I did ask her like where is this third book, and she says it's written and it's done, but there's just some issues with like publishing and the cover. It follows a group of girls, they're elves, and they all work together, and they all decide to go on a retreat together. And this retreat is an orc retreat where you basically go to have like fun, sexy voyeurism times with these big, sexy orcs. 3 of them decide that they're gonna have a little bit of fun, and they go and have a wild time, a wild weekend. That's why it's called Girls Weekend. These 2 books follow all of their shenanigans. So the first one is Girls Weekend, and then the second is Parties. All 3 of the romances in these books, and I highly recommend this series. But just make sure you read it in order. Another one of her novellas is the Mabon Feast. This one is a romance between a human and a spider. Crazy! I never thought I would read a book like this, but I actually really liked it. So our heroine is renting her attic. She's renting the extra room that she has to make a little bit more money, and that is where our hero comes in. He is a spider, and he needs like a very dark, secluded area where he feels safe. They start off as roommates, but they can't deny the attraction and the chemistry that they have with one another, and it follows the romance. It's a short, steamy novella. It does have a historic romance, and it's called How to Marry a Marble Marquess, and this is a romance between a gargoyle and a human. It takes place during like Regency time period, and our heroine is ruined. The scandal right before her coming out, right before she's supposed to have like her first season. What happens to women who are scandalized is they get sent to the monster's Ball. Monsters Ball is a season and a coming out, but with monsters. Earls and there's dukes, but they're monsters. There's werewolves and gargoyles and vampires and all of the above. She has no idea how to navigate the monster world. So our hero is an earl and he ends up sponsoring her. He's supposed to help her acclimate to society, but they end up falling in love, of course. I'll say this does have a little bit of groveling in it because our hero, he's a jerk at first, but the groveling in this book is just top tier. And again, I love the cover. I love that monster romance authors are going back to like that historical romance clinch cover vibe when everyone else is going more to like the cutesy illustrated vibe. It just makes me happy. Next up, we have a short anthology that is a Christmas anthology. This one is called There Arose Such a Clatter, Tales from the Naughty List. And this is a Krampus romance. Krampus, who is the opposite of Santa, okay, he's there to punish all the bad girls and boys, and all throughout Christmas as he is visiting the naughty girls. And there is a romance at the end. It's extremely steamy and spicy and wonderful. The thing that she does is that she writes a lot of short stories in anthologies. So like on Kindle Unlimited, there will be like a lot of monster anthologies with other authors, and maybe they'll have like a theme and they all write short stories and it's a bind up of monster romances. So if you're someone who likes monster romances and maybe you want to discover new authors, you could pick up one of these short story anthologies. So I'm just going to name all the ones that she's in. She is in a couple of the Monsters in Love books. So she's in the first one, Wicked Tales and Monstrous Ever Afters. She's in the volume 1, Lost in the Labyrinth. Also in Wolves and Warriors. In volume 2 of Monsters in Love, this one is called Lost in the Dark. Also in volume 3 of Monsters in Love, this one is called Lost in the Forest. And then she's in an erotica anthology called Bound by the Monster. I read all of her short stories in those anthologies and they're just a really fun time. So right now, those are all the books that she has ever written and I loved every single one of them. I feel like you can't go wrong with any of them. If you're looking for like a darker monster romance, I would recommend Run, Rabbit, Run. If you're looking for something a little bit more sweeter and you just want like an introduction to her, I would recommend Morning Glory Milking Farm and Blue Ribbon Romance. Or if you're not sure if monster romances are your thing and you just want to test out her writing, then you can pick up one of her anthologies. She does have a couple books releasing very soon. First up, we have To Ravish a Rogue. This one comes out October 24th and it's another historical romance. And this one is specifically a pirate romance. Our heroine is trying to find the rumored Atlantis and she ends up finding our hero instead. Then we also have Hollow coming out. This one is a Headless Horseman retelling. And on September 29th, we have 2 for Tea, which seems like it's the beginning of a separate series that she's going to be writing in. That is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you give this author a try. If you've read any books from her, please let me know. If you want me to do a guide to any other author, also leave that in the comments down below and I'll totally do it. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy and I will see you in my next video. Bye!